Greetings, kindred friend. Let us spend a quiet moment right now. Imagine darkness enveloping the room, the slow ticking of the clock in the corner suddenly becoming clearer than ever. In that stillness, have you ever quieted your heart and asked yourself, what if every incident in your life was actually never a coincidence? The times your heart shattered because of a breakup, the doors of opportunity suddenly slamming shut right before your eyes, or the silent pain of loss you have carried for so long. We often consider those as cruel accidents of fate. But in the Buddha's radiant wisdom about the law of dependent origination, not a single ripple on the lake of life appears without a reason. Every pain is actually a sacred preparation. Every disappointing pause is actually a redirection of the universe. Life is not punishing you. Life is constantly conversing and molding you so you become sturdier before the storms of destiny. If you are hearing these words right now, I want you to know that it is absolutely not a coincidence. You have been chosen to receive this message. In tonight's journey, we will decode 8 silent arrangements of the universe through the Buddhist lens, along with a special bonus lesson at the end of the video, helping you rediscover absolute sovereignty. Take a deep breath, loosen your shoulders, and let us together begin the journey of exploring the sacred codes of our very own lives. Lesson 1. When brokenness is the starting point. Greetings. Let the breath take your hand back to reality right this moment. I want to invite you to look with me at one of the most haunting moments of a human life, the moment everything seems to collapse beneath your feet. In the twilight years, that brokenness is often not as noisy as in youth. It could be a betrayal from a longtime soulmate, the feeling of disappointment when children move away, or simply the sluggishness of the physical body you always trusted. At those times, our minds often scream in despair. We feel broken, discarded, and worthless. However, dear friend, Buddhist wisdom gives you a completely different mirror. He taught that the moment you broke was actually exactly the moment you truly began. The moment you broke was the moment you began. Imagine your soul is like a rustic ceramic vase. If that vase remains forever intact, smooth, and sealed, it will only be an empty container, completely isolated from the surrounding world. But exactly the impacts of destiny, the cracks created by suffering, carry a sacred mission. You know what? Exactly thanks to those cracks, can the brilliant light from the universe slip in for the first time, illuminating and warming the hidden dark corners inside you that all this time the intactness unintentionally obscured. The Buddha placed suffering as the first truth in the Four Noble Truths. He did not say that to make us pessimistic. He said it so we understand that suffering is an inevitable part of the flow of life. Suffering arises from our attachment to a perfect I image that never changes. When that I is broken, that is when the rigid shell of the ego shatters, making way for compassion and awakening to sprout. I once knew a woman who spent her whole life shouldering family responsibilities. She always took pride in being a wife, a mother who never collapsed. Then, an unexpected betrayal from her husband completely devastated her. During long sleepless nights, she saw herself as a ruin. But exactly in that extreme emptiness, for the first time, she learned how to sit still to listen to her own voice instead of the voice of duty. She realized, all this time, she had forgotten a sleeping Buddha in her heart. The crack in her marriage unintentionally became the door for her to step onto the path of meditation, finding a peace that no king or love could bestow. Tonight, if you are carrying a crack in your heart, please do not hurriedly patch it up with resentment or running away. Take a deep breath, feel the warmth spreading in your chest, and whisper, "Thank you for this crack, because now the light has found the way in." When you stop considering suffering a destruction, you will see it is exactly a spiritual surgery full of compassion, helping you shed the old shell to prepare for a more radiant and profound being. Sleep in the lightness of a soul that has bravely opened its heart through its very own pain. Lesson 2. Sacred Delay. When the pause is a preparation. Leaving the light-filled cracks of brokenness, I invite you to step with me into another state of time, a state so still that it sometimes makes us feel bewildered. That is when it seems every beat of your life suddenly stops. Dear friend, have you ever felt you are standing still while the whole world is rushing by? There are stages where all plans stall, promising doors suddenly close, and there seems to be no progress occurring despite your efforts. In the darkness of waiting, a feeling of loneliness and abandonment begins to creep in. You silently ask, has the universe forgotten my name? Has my pace been too slow to keep up with destiny? However, Buddhist wisdom gives you a tolerant truth to soothe the impatience of the mind. In the flow of Dharma, delay has never been a refusal. Delay is actually a sacred pause for preparation. Delay is divine preparation. To understand this, imagine the seed of the eastern bamboo. When sown into the ground, the farmer must persistently water and care for it for 4 grueling years without seeing a single green sprout emerge from the ground. If looking with the hurried eyes of the world, people would say that seed is dead or the planter's effort is useless. However, the truth lies deep underground in the cold earth. During those 4 years of standing still, the bamboo tree is not lazy at all. It is diligently developing a giant, profound, and sturdy root system, spreading for miles underneath to find an eternal water source. It devotes all its life sap to preparing for a stature that no storm can knock down. And then, when the 5th year comes, the bamboo rises from the ground and can grow an additional 25 meters in just a few short weeks. It can break through like that thanks to the 4 years of silent winter underground. Your life tonight might also be in the root-nourishing stage like that bamboo tree. Perhaps you're losing a job opportunity at age 60, or an important plan being postponed is not because you are incompetent, but because the universe is protecting you from a wrong direction or reserving a silent pause for you to refine your inner strength. I once knew a man who was extremely desperate when he was fired right before his promotion day. He felt the world collapsed and he was marginalized by society. But exactly in that cruel pause, he had time to heal the relationship with his children, something he had missed out on during 30 busy years. And then, when the pause ended, a new consulting opportunity came looking for him, where he got to work with the leisure and respect he had never experienced. He realized that the old pause was not an abyss, but a bridge. Science calls this the process of accumulating potential. And in spirituality, this is when your nervous system learns the lesson of patience, khanti. When you are still enough to not resent the delay, you are informing every cell that everything is happening at the right time. That reassurance helps lower stress hormone levels, allowing your body to perform the repair work that daytime hurrying prevented. Tonight, if you find yourself standing still amidst unfinished plans, please smile and loosen your shoulders. The universe has never forgotten you. The universe is only reserving a root-nourishing season for you to become sturdier, deeper. Sleep in absolute trust in the rhythm of heaven and earth, because what is prepared in silence always carries the most enduring strength. Lesson 3. What falls away reveals. The eternal greetings. After the breath has guided us through the stillness of silent roots underground, I want to invite you to look up with me at the tall canopies outside the window. If the lesson about the bamboo tree teaches us patience in the dark, then this next lesson will teach us how to face the light of a truth that is both cruel and liberating: the law of falling away. Try quietly observing the flow of your life right this moment. Stepping into the twilight years, do you ever feel sorrowful when seeing things inherently very familiar suddenly leave you? It could be a social status that once brought you pride, muscle strength that once helped you be confident, or even soulmates who have permanently stepped to the other shore. In that moment of loss, we often look up at the sky and ask a deeply melancholic question: why does everything leave me one by one? Why have I become so empty like this? However, dear friend, Buddhist wisdom gives you a completely different lens to look into this pain. he taught about the law of anicca, impermanence. Impermanence is not a sad thread of destiny. It is actually a sacred purification process. Imagine a forest in brilliant autumn. Do you see any tree trying to hold on to the withering yellow leaves? The tree does not wail at all, nor does it cling to its old magnificent cloak. It understands that those leaves have completed their mission. If the tree is not brave enough to let the leaves fall, the life sap will be dispersed, and it will never have enough strength to go through the freezing winter or enough space to receive the lush green sprouts of the coming spring. Shedding leaves is not a loss. It is the conservation of sacred energy to protect the eternal core inside. The liberating truth is this: life does not strip anything away from you. It is only removing what you have worn too tightly so your soul can grow up. At this stage, many things falling away from your life is not because you are unlucky, but because you have grown beyond their stature. Old titles need to be lost so wisdom can be revealed. The needs to show off need to leave to make room for inner sovereignty. Exactly when the cumbersome leaf layers of the old ego fall down, only then can you clearly see the profound beauty of the tree trunk of your soul. The thing inherently sturdy through so many stormy seasons. Engrave this soothing truth into your heart. Only when false things fall away do the truly eternal things have a chance to be revealed. What falls away reveals what endures. Tonight, when lying in the envelopment of darkness, I invite you to perform an act of wisdom. Think of something that just left you. Instead of gripping tightly to that painful memory fragment, try taking a deep breath and whisper, "Thank you for accompanying me. Now, I allow you to drift away so I can truly see myself clearly." When your hands stop clinging to the withered yellow leaves, you will be amazed to realize that what remains, which is exactly peace, compassion, and pure awareness, is truly the most precious asset that no time can violate. Sleep in the lightness of a soul that has shed all burdens, to leave only a clear and eternal sky radiating right in your soul. Lesson 4. Rejection is a silent guidance when a door closes to protect you. Greetings. After the breath has guided us by the hand through the forest of impermanence, where old leaves fall back to the root, I invite you to face a feeling that perhaps has tightened your heart with bitterness more than a few times. That is when the world says a word of refusal to you. Try quietly remembering a moment you poured all your heart and soul into something. A plan for the twilight years, an earnest effort to reconnect with someone, or an opportunity you believed was the final puzzle piece for your fulfillment. And then, the door suddenly slams shut right before your eyes. In the cold silence of the refusal, our ego often painfully screams, "Why am I abandoned? Am I no longer valuable?" We consider rejection a sentence for our own dignity. However, dear friend, in the light of mindfulness, there is a much more forgiving truth than that. If the ego sees a wall, the soul sees a turn. In Buddhist wisdom, every rejection is actually an adjustment of cause and condition. Life does not take away a good thing from you. Life is only sparing you from places no longer matching the vibrational frequency of your soul. Imagine a pure stream leisurely flowing in the deep forest. When the water current encounters a large rock blocking the way, it does not stop to resent the rock, nor does it try to break it in despair. Naturally and softly, the water stream simply bends itself to the shape of the rock, finding a new path to continue its journey. Exactly the rock. That rejection forced the water stream to change shape and discover more beautiful winding turns, more fertile alluvial plains that without the rock blocking the way, it would forever never know. I too once stood on the boundary of despair when a goal I spent my whole youth pursuing was rejected at the last minute. At that time, I saw myself torn and alone, but when looking back from the stillness of the present, I was stunned to realize a miraculous arrangement. Exactly because that door closed, I was forced to turn inward to seek the self-generated light source. If that day I achieved what I wanted, perhaps I would have been lost in the noise of fame and forgotten the way back to myself. Engrave this liberating truth into your heart. Rejection does not define your value. It is only redirecting the orbit so you go on the right journey of the soul. Rejection is not a denial. It is a redirection. Tonight, when lying in the forgiving darkness, I invite you to perform an act of wisdom. Think of a person or an opportunity that said no to you. Instead of holding tightly onto the pain of being rejected, exhale a very long breath and whisper, "Thank you for not giving me what I wanted, so I can find where I truly belong." When you accept that rejection is exactly an invisible hand guiding you onto the right orbit of Dharma, your soul will no longer be hurt. You will see yourself as light as a water stream gliding past a rocky rapid, expansively entering sleep with the belief that every closed door is for your own ultimate peace. You are not abandoned, you are being protected. Lesson 5. The Soul Blooms. In adversity, when comfort is no longer the destination. Greetings. As we have gradually understood that refusal is actually a protecting hand, I invite you to pause with me for a bit to observe a law of life taking place right under your palm. There is a deep-rooted craving inside each of us, which is seeking absolute comfort. We spend our whole lives building a comfort zone, expecting a flat life, without fluctuations, without challenges. However, dear friend, do you realize something? The stillness of a stagnant lake will never nourish a radiant life. The wisdom of awakening reminds us of a truth, both strict and forgiving. The soul does not seek comfort. The soul seeks evolution. And the soul only truly grows where comfort ends. The soul grows where comfort ends. Let us contemplate the image of the sacred lotus flower in your mind right now. Do you see any lotus flower blooming brilliantly on pure water in a glass room? Absolutely not. The lotus is forced to root deep into the dark, foul, and chaotic mud layer. Exactly the nutrients from that mud layer, along with the pressure of the deep water and the darkness of the lake. Bottom mold. The strength for the lotus to stretch itself, escape above the waves, and radiate pure fragrance under the sun. Without mud, there will never be a lotus. Your life tonight might also be going through muddy stages like that. Those are health challenges, making the physical body tired, chaos in the mind when thinking about the future, or changes in the family making you feel it is no longer as easy as before. But dear friend, please do not resent reality. Understand that difficulty is exactly the environment of evolution. Human instinct seeks ease, but the soul needs friction to become wise. Without pressure, the seed of wisdom never sprouts. Without the darkness of challenges, the light of compassion never shines so brilliantly. Suffering is not a punishment of the universe, it is a regeneration process. In Buddhist wisdom, every time you feel you are enduring something difficult, imagine that is exactly when your soul is filtering nutrients from the mud of destiny. You are not being destroyed by old age or illness. You are being remolded to become more dignified and profound. The true growth of a human life only comes when we bravely step out of the cramped cocoon of safety to embrace the storms of reality. Tonight, reserve a final appreciation for all hardships you have and are going through. Look at the cracks, pains, or inconveniences with the eyes of a wise gardener. Whisper to yourself, "I am grateful for this mud layer, because it is nourishing the flower inside me." When you stop fearing change or trying to run away from difficulties, your nervous system will reach a silently courageous state. You realize that you do not need a perfect life to be at peace. You only need to be brave enough to bloom right amidst the mud of destiny. Sleep in the mindset of a lotus surrendering to nature, knowing that your soul is becoming denser and nobler from the very toils you have gone through. Everything is happening exactly to its sacred rhythm. Lesson 6. Loss is a guiding lamp when the heart finds light in the darkness. Greetings. When the lotus soul is courageous enough to smile amidst the mud of challenges, I want to invite you to go with me into the quietest space, which is also the most sacred place of tonight's journey. This is where we face the thing the mind fears most, but the soul needs most to reach ultimate liberation. That is exactly loss. Try quietly looking at the empty spaces in your life right this moment. It could be the empty space on the bed after a loved one departed, the empty space of a social status that once brought you pride, or the vanishing of unfinished dreams that you once traded your whole youth to pursue. Our instinct is to consider loss a cruel black hole, an abyss coming to swallow all meaning of existence. We see ourselves torn and lonely amidst the ruins of reality. However, dear friend, Buddhist wisdom gifts you a saving truth. Loss does not come to take away your light. Loss comes to teach you how to light up the dark night yourself. Loss is not a thief. It is a lantern. Imagine you are standing in a room brilliantly lit by electric lights. That artificial light is so glaring that you cannot see small details, nor can you see the beauty of the stars outside the window. Only when the light goes out, when darkness envelops, are you forced to light a small lamp in your hand. Exactly, the light from that lamp is the truest light because it helps you clearly see every step you take, clearly see what is truly precious, and realize the aura of awakening that has inherently always been hidden in your heart. Loss is indeed an arrow piercing through the heart. But if you are still enough not to shoot an additional second arrow of resentment, you will notice a miracle sprouting from that very wound. First, loss generates compassion. Only when you truly experience the feeling of being shattered do you gain empathetic eyes to see the pain of all things around. You no longer look at the world with judgment, but with tolerant pity. Second, loss nourishes maturity. It forces you to directly face the law of impermanence of heaven and earth, teaching you that nothing is forever. And exactly that finitude makes every present moment infinitely luxurious and precious. And finally, loss brings you to the awakening of the being. When external things like fame, recognition, or even the presence of relatives are lost, you will begin to ask yourself, without these things, who am I? Exactly in that extreme emptiness, do you find a whole, still, and unchanging being? The treasure lying deep inside that all this time sufficiency unintentionally obscured. Tonight, I invite you to perform an act of wisdom. Consider every loss, a lantern illuminating the path back to yourself. Instead of looking at what is lost, look at the light source. It just lit up in your awareness. Whisper to your soul, I am grateful for what has passed, because they taught me how to love more deeply and live more awakened. When you turn pain into a guiding light, darkness will automatically recede. Sleep in the aura of a heart that has been refined through loss, weightless like a breath, because you know that what truly belongs to you, which is peace and wisdom, can never be taken away. Everything is done, and you are walking in your own light. Lesson 7. Seasonal Karmic Connections, when separation is the completion of a curriculum. Greetings. When the lamp of loss has illuminated the path back to the being, I invite you to look back with me at the faces that have passed through your life. Open the address book of your heart. There are names that used to be the whole world to you, but now are just a distant echo. There are people who once vowed to accompany you to the end of life, but took a turn at some winding corner. Cruelly, our minds often consider the departure of someone a failure, a betrayal, or a pain needing to be fixed. However, in the light of Buddhist wisdom regarding karma and dependent origination, there is a much more serene truth. The people in your life are not permanent possessions. They are seasonal teachers. In this universe, no encounter is a coincidence. Everyone stepping into your life brings along a spiritual contract already signed by karma beforehand. Some come to repay a debt of gratitude. Some come to collect an old debt. And some come just to reflect the hidden corners that you yourself have not seen. They are like mirrors. The one who hurts you will reflect your attachment and an ego that is still too large. The one who loves you will reflect compassion and sacred value inside you. Imagine relationships like the seasons of heaven and earth. Spring brings green sprouts and hope. But if spring does not pass, the brilliant summer and mature autumn will never come. When a person leaves you, whether a friend, a colleague, or even a relative, it usually means the karmic debt between the two sides has been fully paid, or the lesson the two souls needed to teach each other has officially completed. Understand this liberating truth. Separation is not a loss. Separation is a sign showing a curriculum has ended to make way for a new transformation. Our biggest mistake in the twilight years is trying to use willpower to keep people whose season has ended. The more you try to hold a withered branch, the more you hurt your own hand. Tonight, I invite you to perform a gratitude ritual in stillness. Think of the silhouettes that have departed your life, the people who loved you, the people who hurt you, and the people who silently faded with time. Instead of gripping tightly to resentment or regret, whisper to them, "Thank you for visiting. Thank you for the lesson you left behind. Now I allow you to be free, and I allow myself to be at peace." When you realize all separations are actually the completion of a karmic connection, your heart will no longer tighten out of self-pity. You understand that you are like a train passing through many stations, every passenger getting on and off as a separate journey, and you just need to cherish the moment they sit next to you under the moonlight. Sleep in the relief of a soul, no longer owing anyone a stay, because you know that true teachers will always be present under many different forms, right in the stillness of the present. Lesson 8. The universe redirects the path. When adversity is a wise compass. Greetings. After we have learned to smile and say goodbye to the seasonal teachers and relationships, I invite you to step back very far with me to look at the entire map of your life. Have you ever stood amidst the ruins of a grand plan, an intention for the twilight years shattered in unforeseen health incident, or a loss turning all order upside down, and you exclaimed in the dark, "Why is the universe so cruel to me? Why does destiny want to crush me?" Our greatest pain at this stage often does not come from the incident itself, but comes from the feeling of being punished. We consider adversity a denial of our existence. However, dear friend, Buddhist wisdom gives you a radiant truth to soothe all resentment. The universe has never been against you. The universe is only patiently redirecting your path. The universe is not against you. It is redirecting you. To understand this code of destiny, imagine you are a person steering a small boat amidst a vast ocean. You have set a destination. You devote all your heart and strength to row toward it because you believe that is the only place bringing happiness. However, suddenly a storm strikes, or a strong ocean current pushes your boat to a completely different direction. At that time, if you continue to brace yourself to row against the wind, you will soon be exhausted and the boat will sink in anger. But if you are still enough to let go of the oars and observe, you will realize a miraculous thing. That storm does not come to sink you. It is pushing you out of a sea full of hidden reefs that you did not know about, to guide you to a calmer bay where there are islands of wisdom that your old map never recorded. In Buddhist teachings, this is exactly the operation of Dharma, the natural, fair, and highly compassionate law of the universe. Dharma does not operate according to the petty desires of the attached ego. Dharma operates according to the ultimate harmony of all things. When a door slams shut, that is not a wall. That is an arrow sign pointing to another, safer turn for your soul. The collapse of the old plan is actually the universe's way of clearing illusions to protect your true being. Engrave this truth into your heart before sinking into deep sleep. Salvation sometimes does not lie in getting what you want, but lies in being rejected to be guided to where you truly belong. Tonight, when you lie in the shelter of darkness, I invite you to perform an act of ultimate trust. Look at the failures or cruel winding turns in the past with the eyes of a tolerant observer. Do you see? Exactly because that day that door closed, today you have this composure. Exactly because that day you were pushed off the old route, today you found this mindful path. The universe loves you with a love vaster than your line of sight. He does not give you what you want to satisfy the ego. He gives you what you need for the soul to evolve. Tonight, Allow yourself to go downstream. You do not need to be the steersman for the whole universe. Trust in the rhythm of Dharma, because Dharma always knows how to bring you to the shore of peace exactly when you are most ready. Sleep in the relief of a boat that has dropped anchor amidst the sacred ocean. Everything is done, and you are being navigated by a wisdom greater than all your anxieties. The sanctuary of stillness when the soul speaks. Greetings. Our journey from light-filled cracks through the seasons of silent bamboo roots to the falling away of old ego leaf layers, all have guided you to the most sacred harbor of tonight. This is the place where all words become redundant, where healing reaches the most complete level. I invite you to step into the deepest layer of the inner temple, the state of stillness and becoming. Listen to the sound of your room right this moment. Do you hear the silence encompassing all things? There is an ironic reality that we are living in an era where silence seems to have become a rare luxury. The world out there constantly screams with hurried news, notifications from phones, and rushed paces of life. But more terrifying than all is the noise inside your mind, a rushing waterfall of plans, judgments, and inner dialogues that never cease. We are so absorbed in listening to the world that we forget how to listen to ourselves. In Buddhist wisdom, true lucidity is not something you have to seek or create by tension. It has inherently always been there, just waiting for you to stop agitating reality. Imagine your mind right now is like a bowl of muddy, murky water. If you worry and use your hands to stir it, hoping to make the water clear again, you will only make the mud murkier. The more you make an effort to clean by action, the worse the result. The only way for the water surface to become as clear as a mirror, fully reflecting the moon high above, is exactly set the bowl of water down and leave it still. Tonight, when you lie still under the warm blanket, perform a sweet surrender. Allow yourself to be completely free of affairs. No need to think, no need to resolve. Just simply be present. In that wise silence, you are no longer a separate, anxious individual. You become a flat lake surface, where the whisper of the soul begins to speak. That is the voice of intuition, the light of the Buddha inside that all this time busyness has unintentionally obscured. Dear friend, in the twilight years, we often look back at unfinished dreams with a little regret. We consider unachieved goals as marks of failure. But let Buddhist wisdom gift you an ultimate liberating truth. A dream is not a destination for you to touch. The dream is exactly the process you are becoming. We often mistakenly think that the meaning of life lies in the brilliant ending, in golden honor rolls, or tangible achievements. But look, a flower blooming most brilliantly is not to reach any destination. It blooms just to be itself, whole in every moment from when it is a bud until the petals fall. Your life is the same. Every difficulty you have overcome, every tear you have quietly wiped away, and even the disappointing pauses the universe arranged, all are molding you, refining you so you become a deeper and more tolerant being. Engrave this truth into your heart before closing your eyelids. You are not an old item fading gradually over time. You are an artwork, having its most exquisite strokes perfected through stillness. You are not fading. You are being perfected in stillness. How many years have you spent energy to please the world? Tonight, I invite you to dedicate that energy to honor your very existence. You do not need to do anything more to feel valuable. Your stillness right now is more precious than thousands of boastful words. Your composure before impermanence is stronger than all material power. When you sit still with quietness, you will realize a miraculous thing. You are not lonely at all. You are connecting with the great beat of the universe. You are harmonizing with the flow of Dharma, where there is no past to regret, no future to worry about, only a whole and boundlessly expansive existence. Understand that. Stillness is not a soulless void. Stillness is the place containing all the answers your soul always seeks. Tonight, allow yourself to disappear into the quiet space of the room. Do not try to control sleep, nor try to fix reality. Just be a flat lake surface so the moon of wisdom can be fully illuminated. You are safe. You are full. And you are exactly the peace you have always sought all this time. Sleep in the aura of a soul that has found home right inside its own breath. Everything is done. You are being enveloped by the eternal love of the universe. The art of simplification. Doing less to become more. Greetings. Before we truly let ourselves melt into the dream of rebirth, I want to gift you a final small treasure, a pearl of purification that practicing masters always cherish. We are living in an era that worships busyness, where the value of a person is often equated by the world with the length of the list of tasks to complete. But dear friend, after all the winding turns of destiny, Buddhist wisdom whispers a completely different liberating truth. True strength does not lie in you rushing out to do a lot, but lies in how much you are in stillness. Try looking at the operation of a tea branch steeping in hot water. The tea branch does not need to move hurriedly, does not need effort to show off flavor. It simply lies still, surrendering to the warm water and time. Exactly in that, doing nothing, the quintessence of heaven and earth is slowly released, creating a pure fragrance that soothes people's hearts. Your life at this stage is exactly as sacred as that tea branch. Lucidity does not come from you trying to add more or fill your time with unnamed activities. Wisdom lies in the art of doing less, but with fuller presence. When you bravely cut off redundant agitations, relationships that only bring exhaustion, or responsibilities your soul inherently wanted to refuse long ago, you are creating a climate zone for awakening to sprout. Engrave this tolerant truth into your heart. When you stop trying to become someone grand in the eyes of the world, that is exactly when you begin to become great in your own soul. Do less, become more. Tonight, allow yourself to be completely free of affairs. Do not think about what to do tomorrow to feel you are still useful. You are not a tool for the world to use. You are a sacred life for the universe to feel itself through you. When your hands are no longer engrossed in holding on to vanities, your mind will automatically reach absolute focus and peace. Sleep in the lightness of a soul that has bravely chosen simplicity, to make room for the light of truth to be illuminated most fully. You have seen the highly compassionate redirection behind closed doors, seen the radiant lotus soul rising from the mud of challenges, and seen the lamp of wisdom lit from the very darkness of loss. Every pause, every toil, and even the most profound silences you have gone through, now all converge to guide you by the hand back to your most whole being. Engrave this gentle truth into your heart before closing your eyes. You do not need to make an effort to chase salvation in some distant land. You are exactly where you need to be, and you are always enveloped by the wise flow of the universe in every breath. If the sharings tonight have watered your soul with a little warmth, please help me spread this good energy source with a like button and subscribe to the channel. That is how we together light the lamps of awakening amidst the long night. The night is deep. The breath is light. Wishing you a long night of peace, complete letting go, and waking up radiantly in the dawn of rebirth. Goodbye, and see you again in the next journeys of awakening.